and it is Tuesday night, so it is time for my weekly online class to go. So for anyone who is new either to my Facebook page or YouTube channel, welcome. Each week on Tuesday nights I do a live class. We make 3 projects, and at the end of by the end of the week, if you place an order of $75 or more in my online store, and that's before shipping and after any stamp and rewards redemption, by the end of Saturday night I will send you the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards from this week's class. So you'll get all the cardstock designer series paper, die cuts that are not part of the featured bundle. There is a slight exception this week, simply because I can't send stamped images, and I do have a couple of stamped and die cut or punched images, but I'll go through that when I show you the cards in just a sec. But so that is what we're going through. So this week's featured bundle is the Bordered in Beauty bundle, and I just realized I don't have it in front of me. Let me just switch my camera around. So these are the projects for this week, and let me pull out. So this is the stamp set. So this is a really good stamp set for scrapbooking, because you've got lots of borders and tags, but you can also use it for cards as well, which is what I've done for this week. Hi Dimity, how are you? Now let me see if I still have the dies reasonably close by. I've used the dies more than the stamps, I'll admit, and now I can't find them. They were right in front of me and now they have disappeared. Let's see, where are they hiding? Nope, they're hiding. I will see if I can find them a bit later, but I do have a photo up on my Facebook page with the image of the dies. So the dies cut a lot of different borders, and I've used a number of those tonight, and there are also the tag and label die cuts as well. So the images that are not part of the featured bundle that you will need your own dies or punch for, the butterflies on this one, I've used the All Flutter bundle. So this has a punch that goes with it, but you can use anything that you want, doesn't have to be that one. And for this one I've used the Lily of the Valley stamp set, but any flower die, stamp and die will work. You don't have to have that one. And for this one, the die cuts here, these are just die cuts, so they will be included with your stamp set, with your kit. I'm losing my words. All right, let's get started. So we'll start with this one here. So let me just pull my kit out. So got some embossed cardstock that will be embossed in your kits. I've already die cut, so this is one of the border dies from the set, and I'm sure as soon as I finish the class I will find the dies. They will be staring me in the face. All right, now we need the base, so I'm using crisp cantaloupe for the base. So let's actually, I do want to, because I've die cut this and I used a slightly longer piece than my cardstock, just so I can make sure that it is that is long enough. I tend to go a little bit longer and then trim it back when I've stuck it down. I'm just trying to make sure I've got the right side to glue on. That was a little bit much, although it is going on embossed cardstock, so you don't want too much, because obviously it's a thin die, it's a thin border I should say, and you don't want it squidging out, but you do want to make sure it sticks. So I'm just going to try and spread some of the adhesive out as much as I can rather than adding to it. And if you find that you accidentally add a bit too much, if you've got a silicone mat, you can just press it onto that and reduce the amount of adhesive on your cardstock. So I reckon that is, and I don't need to go right to the end because we're going to be trimming off one end. So let's put that a little bit higher, I think. Let's just pull that up. And then we can just straighten it up. And I've managed to get glue everywhere because I moved it around too much. But that's all right, we can deal with that. All right, so once you got that down, just trim off the end. Make sure it lines up with the cardstock. And then we can, yep, that's the right size. I always prefer to check that I've actually cut the cardstock to the right size before I glue it down. Because there are always times when you don't have it quite right. And those are usually the times I forget to check, of course. But this one is looking fine. So we can pop that down. And then we can put this down on the card base. Now for the embossed cardstock, I used regular cardstock, but you could also use the two-tone, and then if you sand it lightly, you can get some of the white showing through, so you get a bit more texture and a bit more interest. So that is an option, and that also means you can use, if you want, say, the lighter side rather than the darker side, you can have a slightly different tone. So just play around with the different cardstocks, different shades, see what you prefer. And I'm just going to get some of that excess adhesive off in the corner there. Alright, so let's put that to the side for the moment. And we just need to do a little bit of colouring. So I've already die cut this one. So we've got lemon lime twist and granny apple green, and that will be lemon lime twist granny apple green. So I'm just going to, starting with the two light colours, then I'll add in the darker ones. And you can leave a little bit of white space. And if you don't have both colours, just use what you've got. You can get plenty of shading effect with just one of the colours, so don't feel that you have to rush out and buy all the other colours if you don't want them or wouldn't. They're not ones that you would normally use. Just use what you've got. Alright, then we're just going to add a little bit of Pretty Peacock, not too much, just a little bit at the top and the bottom, and then blend it all in with lemon lime twist. So close up some of those gaps, but still leave a little bit of white. Get it all blended. Then for the flower, I'm just using some of the Barely Blush shimmer brush, and I'm not colouring the whole of each flower, just some of it. Just add a little bit of sparkle, little bit of colour. Oops. And there we go, that's that one. And then we should stamp the sentiment. So sentiment I'm using from, I think it's Greenery Lane. And I'm going to use Secret Sea for this one. But you could also go with Memento Black, that works just as well. Oh, actually we'll do it after. There is a bit more stamping on this one. Probably better to do the sentiment first, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to use, so I've got the butterfly border stamp, but we're just going to use the one of the butterflies. So I'm just going to ink up one of the butterflies and then stamp off, and then one in the bottom corner there, stamp up again. Just want to make sure I get the bottom corner but not the next butterfly. Not such an issue for the bottom one there, but more so for this top one, because we are coming up there. So that is that one. I probably could have stamped off another time, but that is fine. So let's bring this back in. So this is going to sit about there, and the flower is going to sit behind. So we'll pop the flower up on dimensionals first, because we want to make sure that we don't add dimensionals to the sentiment label over the flower, because then it'll be bumped up a bit too high. So we can go to town on this one. Add as many as you want, and I'm going to add a tiny bit to that, the tip of that leaf, just so it's a bit more stable. And then we get all the backings off, add them to the pile on the floor. When they want to come off. Some of them don't seem to want to come off, but the dimensionals want to come off. All right, so we want that sitting about there, so the flower is going to sit behind. So I'm going to flip that over to add the dimensionals so I know how far across to come. So I think that should be about right, and we can slide that across. That's all good. So I'll just take the backings off, add a little bit of adhesive here just to the center part, just so it's got something to adhere to, and pop that down. And then I have pre-tied a bow from the linen thread. This is quite old linen thread that I'm using up, and I'm gonna add an extra glue dot to this one because it's a little thicker. And then all we need to do is add some embellishments, but before we do that, let's add the insert. Maybe take the lid off, that might help. So we can pop that one down, flip this back over. So I'm using some of the muted palette dots. These ones are Last Chance List. I'm just adding a couple of these to the sentiment. And then adding some of the pearlized faceted circles. These ones are not Last Chance List, they are still current. And put that one down there. And there we go, that is the first one done. So let's move on to the next one. Where's it hiding? This one. So I'll just get all my pieces out. So I've used the Moonlit Flora DSP, and that does a lot of the work for you. And then I have die cut a bunch of pieces and the butterflies from the stamp set. So, oops, and they're falling all over the place. So I've stamped the outline on this one. We just need to stamp the sentiment. Now, let me just, I'm pretty sure, yes, I did. I cut the extra, the center piece a bit longer. Let me just double check that the die cut one is the right length. Yes, it is. So let's add this one first, and we can trim off the end, add it to the front. We don't need adhesive on the whole thing because we're going to trim some of that off. If I can get it straight, that would help. Slide it along. So make sure you've got it right to the edge so you haven't got any of the berry burst showing through. And then once you get it to the end, you can either use scissors or your trimmer. I'm just going to use scissors and hope for the best. There we go, that'll do. All right, so we can stick, actually, no, I made that mistake the other day. I stuck the banner across and completely forgot that I needed to pop the other pieces behind, but I was able to save it. If you ever do that, couple of things that can help, particularly if you have used liquid glue, but it should, well, there are two things. One is dental floss. If you can get some dental floss, slide it under, and then you can gently lift up the paper, and I believe that will work with most adhesives, but the liquid glue in particular. One other thing you can do, which is what I ended up doing, is if you get your heat tool, so what you use for heat embossing, and heat up the part that you want to try and lift up, or at least get in somewhat. Heat it up. The heat will sort of melt the glue and make it a bit easier to lift up. And then, now I used the tip, but the palette end of your take your pick tool is a better option, just because the pointy tip, you're more likely to sort of poke through and damage the cardstock unless you are super careful. But if you can slide this one underneath, then you can lift it up as I did, and because basically you just, for something like this, you just need to get it up enough to be able to get your pieces underneath. But let's avoid having to do that, so that's going to sit there. So let's get die cuts. Where is my other one gone? I've got one more. I should have one more. It's probably staring me in the face. It's dark, so it's hard to see, and maybe I've probably dropped it on the floor, and we can make do without it if we don't have it. I can't see it. It will turn up later, no doubt. Let's just double check it's not hiding under something. I didn't accidentally put my piece away with it still in there. No, I did not. Did it fall out? No. Okay. well, we will move on without it. It will turn up. It will turn up as soon as I've finished, most likely, but we can make do without it. It's not essential. So we're just going to, so that's going to sit about there. So we just want to pop that one under to sit about there, and that one will sit about there. So I did actually remember adhesive sheets with this one, thankfully. And adhesive sheets are very much recommended for these dies. So these are from the Fauna and Flora bundle. Highly recommend using adhesive sheets with these dies. So much easier. Plus you have the advantage of being able to move them around quite easily, because it's not a super strong adhesive that once it's down you're not moving it kind of adhesive. You can adjust. So let's get this one up. Oops, just be careful when you are removing the adhesive sheets. Make sure you don't end up tearing it. So just be gentle. And this one, because it's a partial, I was using cardstock that already had adhesive sheets. It just wasn't quite big enough to do the whole thing, but it was enough for what I needed, because the section that wasn't going to cover properly was going underneath, so it really didn't matter. Alright, just doing a final quick check for that die, but I don't think I'm going to have much luck. Oh, actually, there it is. Didn't help it was, on the floor with the cardstock side up rather than the adhesive sheet backing, so it was blending in. So in that case, I'm going to gently pull this one up, because I want to move this one across slightly, because I want this one coming in between there. Just make sure everything is still sort of where I want it, and that one going, oops, about there. Excellent. There we go. Okay. So we can pop this one down now. And there we go. Alrighty, let's stamp the sentiments. I'm using, no I'm not, I'm using Pretty Peacock for this one. I was going to say Secret Sea, but you could use Secret Sea. Use Secret Sea for the outline. I'm using Pretty Peacock for the sentiment. And I'm just going to double check. Just want to make sure that that extra ink I picked up isn't going to end up on my die cut. Let's go again. There we go. Alright, we can move those out of the way. Pop this one down. And we'll just straighten that up a bit. Go. All right, let's get some dimensionals down on this one. I'm going with 4 because I'm not going to do top and bottom. I'm just doing across the center. I probably should, no, I should have spaced the first ones together, but a bit better, but it'll be fine. So this is just going up the top. And before we stick this one down, we need to color. So I'm just going super simple with this one. Berry Burst and Pretty Peacock. Just get the light for both. Hi Renee, how are you? Nice to see you. Or at least see your name pop up. Alright, so not doing anything fancy with the colouring for this. There's small images, so I'm sticking with just the one blend for each. You can go light and dark, of course, but I'm just going to stick with the light. I am going to add some ink of Stella afterwards. And if you want to use different colors, if you don't have these blends, you can always just change the color of the cardstock that you've used for the strip across the bottom, both layers, and then use coordinating colors. I went with one of the reasons I picked Berry Burst as one of the colors. It is used in that DSP, as is the Pretty Peacock, but I specifically wanted the Berry Burst because it does add quite a nice pop of colour amongst all of the green and the Secret Sea. So it just makes it stand out a bit. Alrighty, that will do for those, and I'll pop them on before I do the Wink of Stella. And actually I'll do, if I remember, I will do add the insert and then do the Wink of Stella. Hopefully I remember. Now getting the dimensionals on here, because it's quite a small die cut, so I'm going with the mini dimensionals in sort of one of the larger parts where I can, and then I'm just going to cut a few smaller pieces for some of the sections in between, because you know me, I like to have I like it all to be balanced and even and sitting nicely, but don't need it for everywhere, and actually probably don't need much more. I don't think. I'm going to pop one there, even though that's kind of sitting off to the side of that one. I reckon that is probably going to be enough. Maybe just a little bit in this corner up here, just to balance the ends. And I think, yeah, that should work nicely. This is one that can be a good one to die cut using the foam adhesive sheets, and then it's one big dimensional and you don't have to cut little bits of dimensionals to get them on nicely. I'm just going to adjust this one ever so slightly, and hopefully that will, oops, that one has decided to come off. Let's tuck that back. Let's tuck that one back under. Might need to put a backing. Yes, that's a backing. The backing's decided to, backing wanted to stay. Backing cannot stay. There we go. All right. There's an insert before we do the wing of Stella. I'm good, Renee. I'm very happy that my pre-order for the new catalogue is arriving tomorrow. Still don't have a car to go and pick it up from the post office, so getting it home will be interesting, but it is coming, it is arriving at the post office tomorrow, so I will find a way to get it home. It will be big and bulky and heavy and awkward, but I don't care. Alrighty, let's flip that over, and now we just need to add some embellishments. So, what did I use for this one? We have some butterflies and some ink color pearls and some more ink color pearls, or dots, depending on which year they're from. So let's add, so these are the 2026 to 2028, so just add a couple of those there, and then add a couple of butterflies. Let's go with one there. Do we want a big one or a little one? Let's go a little one. And one there, and then some of these are the 2025 to 2027 the flat pearls, so we will add a few of these and one of the little ones. Alrighty, and there is the second one. Alrighty, on to the third and final, and I have done some of this ahead of time, which is probably a good thing because I was planning to do part of the ink blending in when I was creating the reel for this, and then part of it tonight, but I ended up doing the whole lot in the reel, but I haven't done all the punching, so I can show you what I've done and how I did it. You just don't have to sit and watch me do it. So let's start with the rest of the card first. Let's get all of the bits and pieces out. I've got a few, oops, everything is falling over. I have a few of the butterflies left over from the last one, and I pre-stamped and punched, or die cut, I mean, the sentiment, partly because it's quite small and it's not one I wanted to try and do after die cutting. Oops. So we'll just, let's get a few bits put together so we can clear some space, and I'll take you through the ink blending part and we'll punch out the remaining ones. So put that one there. So this is one of the borders, the die cut borders that I used. If you wanted to, you could also add the same border at the top. I just decided to go with just the one side for this one, but absolutely you could go with both. So let me just, I think this one is actually cut to size. Yes, it is. All right, so let's get these down. Okay. Alrighty. Put that down. Put this one down now on the front. Alright. That is down. Then we can, oh, actually no, let's do the stamping for this one. So I'm using the heart stamp and I'm using Floaty Flamingo for this one, and we will stamp off. So I'm going to ink that up, stamp off, and then up in the top left corner. And then again in the bottom right. Okay, now we can add this to this one. And if you mess up any of the stamping on this one with the two heart borders, you can just use careful placement of your butterflies to hide any little mishaps or embellishments. Embellishments are always good for hiding little mistakes, or just things that did not go quite to plan, because we all have those. Alrighty, let's get this one down in the middle. So let's push that up ever so slightly. And we may as well pop this one up now while it's here. Alrighty, so that's that part done. Now, for the butterflies, all I did is I got a hunk of cardstock, and then I did 3 lots of ink blending. So 3 lots of 3 colors, but if you don't have that many, just use what you have got, and you don't have to use these particular colors. Use whatever you've got. So this first one I did Daffodil Delight, Floaty Flamingo and Calypso Coral. So I just did roughly a third, and I did wasn't sort of this the typical ink blending where you start with one, add the next layer, add the next one further up. I just did bits all over the place. So I did a bit of Daffodil Delight there, and then a bit over there, and a bit over there, and just mixed it all up, just blend into each, the edges in to each one. Although with this, it doesn't have to be perfect, because you're not chucking the cardstock down as it is. You're going to stamp and then punch. So anything that's doesn't look as good as you would normally do for ink blending probably isn't going to be an issue. So that was the first one. Then I did Granny Apple Green, Pool Party and Coastal Cabana, and did that in the next section, also blending in to the edge of the previous lot of ink blending. And then on this end there was a bit more. I've punched out that section. I did Gorgeous Grape, Fresh Freesia and Berry Burst, and again blended in to the sides there. Then I just got my butterfly stamp from the All the Flutter bundle, so I used the detailed one. So there's 3 stamps, and I just went across, and then we punched them out. So I did a couple of them. Now the fun part is lining everything up, and I'm probably going to have to, just need to make sure I've got the right pieces. Hopefully I've got the right ones to punch together, because you do have to, and I'm probably going to have to just, yes I am. And you can often use the leftover pieces as well. I use the reverse of the ink blended side for some parts, and then you can also use the ink blended stuff for flowers. Are a good one. They look quite good with this technique. Leaves can as well, depending on the colors that you've mixed together or blended together, but flowers are a really good one for this technique. So once we've got that in, punch those out and try not to send them all over the place. And then we go to the next one. And yes, I'm going to have to trim the bottom to fit it in. That's fine. Let's see how we go with this one. can take a bit of time to line this one up, so don't rush it. But the good thing with this one is it's not as much of an issue if you've got a larger border than you would normally like, because you haven't got a sort of obvious white border. You've got the same colors as what the butterfly has, so it doesn't look as odd if you've got sections with a wider border than you intended. And how's this one looking? Yeah, I think that's about right. Alrighty, that is that done. And I won't need all of these, so you can use any leftovers for another card. So we're going with about 7. Get a mix of the different sizes and the different colors. So let's just flip these all over so we can see what we've got. So let's start with, so I've got 4 of, I think I've got 4 of the largest ones, which is good. Alrighty, so if we go one there, and I may move these around, we shall see. We'll just see how it all looks. And let's go a medium, or maybe that one. And we want okay, want that one. And let's see, what do we got? We need to go with another purple one. So maybe that one. What do you reckon? I think that will work. And then I do have enough. I could do another one, although I'd probably want another larger one, but that would work. Let's see, just want to make sure we've got a mix of colors, but we need some purple up the top. So maybe if we switch out that one and take that one out, put that one there and that one there. There's sort of purple at the top, not a lot. There's a little bit, gotta have some. What do we reckon? I think that'll work. Now we have and I have lots of purple ones left over, but that's okay. Maybe we'll switch this one out just because there's quite a bit of the blue and the green. I think that actually no, I'll take that one out and put that one there because that's got a bit of blue, so then we've got a mix. I think that is better. Yep, let's go with that. Otherwise we'll be here all night. Now we just have the fun task of adding all the dimensionals, and I'm going to try and keep this as quick as I can. Where was that one? No, that's too big. And if you find after you've punched that you've got any little sections, and actually need to trim that bit off, but if you've got any sections where some of the ink has kind of rubbed off after you've punched, just get one of your blending brushes in whatever color is sort of in the spot where it's rubbed off, and just go over it with your blending brush. Let's go with a couple of big ones. Try and speed this up ever so slightly. Don't know how successful I will be at that, but we can try. At least the ink blending is all done. So you didn't have to sit and watch that. Unfortunately, I can't speed it up in the live like I can in the reels. Be nice if I could, then we could just rip through it all in no time. Alrighty, let's get this next one down. Oops. See, there's a little section that just needs a touch of color, so I'm just going to bring in, hopefully there's still some ink left, well there will be, on my blending brush, and just touch up those edges. Oops, back you go. Oh, before I forget, just a reminder, my paper and ribbon share for the upcoming catalogue is open for registration. You don't need to pay now, that won't be until the end of the month, closer to when I can actually put the orders in for everything, but you can register and secure your spot now. So I sent an email out on the weekend, and the link will also be in my weekly email tomorrow. So if you're not already on my mailing list, if you head over to handmadeafterdark.com.au, and you can sign up to my email list there, and then you'll get all the info for the product share, and it does include both the online exclusives and the catalogue papers and ribbons. So both lots are included, and I'm doing a separate one for the specialty papers. So there's one paper share for the designer series paper and specialty designer series papers, another one for the specialty papers, and then the ribbon share. So the specialty papers are things like the glimmer paper, foil papers, that sort of thing. The specialty designer series papers are designer series paper that have, say, bits of god foil and that sort of stuff. They're just sort of I guess higher end or next level DSPs. Essentially, it can get confusing because they've both got specialty in the name, but I have listed all of the individual items in each paper share and the ribbon share in the registration form, so you've got all the details there. And I have just received a pack of the catalogues for the new for the upcoming one, so if you want a copy, let me know and I will get one out to you. All right, let's add the insert and then we can finish off with some embellishments, and then we are done for tonight. Alright, let's get that down. Okay, now I'm using, this is retired Baker's twine. This is the 3-color pack. This is included in the kits, so I have plenty, and I do include any ribbon or twine used in my kits, so this is all included and I have plenty of it. So I like to do a double bow with these because they are a bit on the thinner side, so it generally looks a bit nicer when you've got the extra bow, the extra thickness, and it also makes it a bit easier to adhere with the glue dots because there's a bit more for it to grip to. And I've messed this one up. Let's fix that up. Same on that side. There we go. That's better. Okay, so just want to make sure it's not too big. That's better. Let's trim the ends. Okay, where are my glue dots? There they are. So grab one, I'm just going to roll it up a bit so that it's hidden when it's down. There we go. And then all that we need, actually we need 2, so let's see, I'm using up some of those and some of these. So the muted palette dots again, And I'm also using up some of my rainbow backed adhesive dots for this one. So just a couple of those, and then some of these. Now, where did I go? Oops, that wasn't very good. One there, one up there, and another one down there. Oh, my butterflies are going everywhere. Alrighty, and there is the third and final card. Alrighty, let me bring everything back in once I find them. So there's the second one and the first one. Let's just rearrange those slightly. Alrighty, so these are the 3 cards for this week's class, and remember you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in. So it's $75 before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards for the kits, and also the kits do include the PDF tutorials as well. So I will email that out to at the same time I send the kits out, so you'll have all the written instructions, measurements, products, everything. Thank you, Renee. So yeah, so that's this week's cards. Let me just switch my camera back. There we go. Alrighty, so next week is Scenic Coast or Sunset Coast. Scenic Coast is the suite, Sunset Coast is the Stamp A Day bundle. But it is a gorgeous bundle and a gorgeous suite. I've been wanting to play with that one for quite a while. It is a lot of fun. It's a really nice suite and the papers are stunning. So that is next week. That is all from me for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching on YouTube, if you like the projects and you want to see more, want to get the notifications, just remember to like and subscribe. It does really help me out. I do appreciate it. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Until